What's up everybody, welcome back to another video, and today I want to show you guys my graphic novel collection. Most of the stuff on this shelf I've recently got in the past few months, and that's also why I had to acquire this shelf. I've gotten really into the collected editions. I love single issues, but I have limited space, so there's a lot of things that I just can't get in single issues. For example, Superman Triangle Era, love that stuff. Tried to collect it before in single issues, just do not have the room at all. So yes, collected editions have been coming in very nice for wanting to read. You know, I do read digitally some of this stuff, but I prefer to have it physically. You know, it feels like a different experience. And yeah, I just like to have something tangible to show my affection for it and support it, if that makes sense. So first off, I'm gonna show you up top here, doing this by hand, so hopefully it's not too shaky. If it gets too bad, I might have to use the tripod. First off, I got this Funko Pop Jubilee signed by Alyson Court, who is the voice actress for Jubilee from X-Men the Animated Series. I met her at Baltimore Comic-Con this past year. Really cool signature there. She inscribed it and put some fireworks on it and stuff, so I thought that was super cool. And then this is an older Diamond Select PVC gallery figure thing, whatever they call them. I had this for a couple years now, and I finally took it out the box. And I was very disappointed by this background because it's just very cheap plastic. You know, there's not actual like footholes to put Rogue in, like I thought there would be. Sorry, my finger got in the way. But the Rogue figure itself isn't bad. You know, the paint, there's some issues right there. And I did like how you could change out her hands. I changed it out so that she was holding the glove and the one hand was ungloved. So I thought that was cool. It is like a connecting diorama thing with a couple of the other figures. I know Gambit and Storm are two of them. I don't know if there's any more than that though. Then we got my Sewer Skating Mike from the reissue of the Playmates stuff. Really like those reissues. Then we got the Brainiac Skull Ship from Superpowers, the most recent Superpowers line, not the original obviously. And then there's a Marvel Legends Rogue, just because, why not? Alright, now the actual books. So first off, starting off, we've got Aliens, the Original Years Volume 1 Epic Collection. The Volume 1 and 2 Omnibus are, I guess they're out of print, because you can't find them on Amazon or, you know, cheap graphic novels or anything like that. But the Epic Collection is still available. I got this when Amazon most recently did a buy 3 for the price of 2 sale. I don't know why they don't just call it buy 3, get 1, or buy 2, get 1 rather. So yeah, got Volume 1 there because I want to read that early stuff. Need Volume 2, pre-ordered Volume 3 and is on its way. And then I got the Volume 3 Omnibus. Volume 4 Omnibus I think is out. I actually got this in a big lot I found on Facebook Marketplace along with some others, which one of them in here I'll show you was the one that I went to pick it up pretty much entirely for. The others were just kind of like an added bonus. But yeah, that's Volume 3. This is the direct market cover. I thought actually that when I got this, because you know, I didn't know the covers and stuff, I thought that I was getting Volume 1 and 2, but no, it turned out to just be the retail and direct market cover for Volume 3. So I kept the direct market and sold the retail to my buddy for $25 because I got a really, really good deal on the whole lot. And then a few little trades here. Aquaman, Sword of Atlantis, Kurt Busiek and Butch Guice. Once and Future, kind of like the era of Aquaman. Want to get the Peter David Omni and the Jeff Johns Omni. And then this was just a gift from a friend. It's Black Canary Volume 2. I don't know when this is from. I assume Rebirth, possibly, but it may even be older than that. Yeah, don't know anything about that. The only Black Canary I ever read was the Black Canary Green Arrow Wedding Special, but it's a gift for a friend, from a friend, and I'm very sentimental like that, so I treasure it. And then this was a find at my comic shop in their used graphic novels. It's an older one. It's Bartman, the best of the best, but you know, couldn't pass it up. I think it was just like a few bucks. Sticker might be on the back actually still. Yeah, it was $5, so I was like, you know, can't go wrong with that. And then this was an Ollie's find. I still haven't opened it, but this is a recent one, a Batman Catwoman hardcover. Don't like to really pick up the trade paperbacks anymore at Ollie's. The stickers kind of bug me, which I know you can get them off, but I've always had such a terrible time with that stuff that I like, you know, if there's a sealed hardcover there, I'll go for that. And then I think this is probably on everyone's shelf in some form or manner, but Batman the Killing Joke, Deluxe Edition. This is one of the first graphic novels I actually bought, I think. You know, I'm really not a big fan of Killing Joke, and actually lately I've heard some people echo my opinion, so I feel a little better about saying it. I mean, it's not bad by any means, but I don't know, I just think it was a bit overhyped. I think for the time it was pretty, you know, at the time when it came out, I think it was very, like, different in a good way. I don't know how else to describe it. And kind of shocking, but I don't know that it has aged the best. I think it kind of feels like another Batman story at this point because we've seen so many shocking things happen in Batman. But, you know, I love the Brian Bland art, so do enjoy that. And this was also an Ollie's find. I think I got this... No, I didn't get this when I got the Batman Catwoman, I don't think. But, yep, again, still sealed, hardcover for Batman 66, Volume 5. I know they have the compendium for this, but Batman 66 has never really been something that I was, like, super into enough to want the compendium. I picked up the hardcover because Clayface is on it, which Clayface is one of my favorite Batman villains, and then All Red art, which I love the All Reds. So I thought I'd pick it up and give it a try. And then I think this is an older one too. BPRD, Hollow Earth and Other Stories. It's BPRD Volume 1, basically. They have the BPRD Omnis out, but, you know, I have this for now. I think this is an older Omni as well. I got it from my comic shop. It was half off, so it was only 50 bucks. Brave and the Bold Bronze Age Omnibus, Volume 2. Did not like this. Yeah, was not a fan of this. From what I was reading, even in the foreword, it didn't seem like it was going to be something that was great. Because apparently there were a lot of clashes between editorial and the writer. I believe the writer was Bob Haney. He liked to do a lot of things that were very out of character for Batman and out of continuity. And he also really liked to team Batman up with Wildcat and Sergeant Rock for some reason. So yeah, I was not a big fan of this. Even the team-ups that interested me were very blah, and just a lot of them didn't really make sense, and yeah, they were like very out of continuity, and it's kind of like, you know, just doing whatever you want with the characters. So wasn't a fan of that. If I'm ever pressed for shelf space, that's probably going to be one that goes, unfortunately. I got this from my comic shop recently. They got some trades in that were $2 that, like, some guy brought in a whole bunch of this one and some of the others I'm going to show you, like, just stacks of the same one. So I got one of each except for, I think it was like Deadpool versus Gambit or something like that. That one sold out pretty quick. But yeah, $2, couldn't go wrong. Captain America White, Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale. You know, they did all those different color ones for the heroes, Hulk Gray, Spider-Man Blue, Daredevil Yellow, which I really want Daredevil Yellow in trade because I have a couple of the single issues, and obviously can't read it with just a couple single issues, so I want to get the trade of that. And then some DC Finest. I just picked these up recently as well. Well, I say these. There's another one later, we'll see. I was really impressed with these because, like I said, this is my first DC Finest. Pretty much, you know, like Marvel's Epic Collection. Actually, it's a little big. Well, it's a lot thicker than that one. And I think a little bigger overall, maybe. But this is Catwoman Lifelines. It basically collects all the beginnings of Catwoman solo stuff. So her 4-issue mini, a few other stories she appears in, and then the first, I don't know, I think like 12 or so issues of her ongoing that Jim Ballant is, you know, very famous for doing. So a lot of fun stuff there. I think Volume 2 has already come out of that one. And I've also got Catwoman, The Dark End of the Street. This is the Ed Brubaker, Darwin Cook stuff. Also, All Red Art. Just found that for cheap and I was interested in it. Civil War, classic Marvel event. Not the biggest fan of it. I really don't like a lot of the Marvel events. The older ones are okay. The newer ones are very, very hit and miss for me. It was fine, but it's not my favorite thing I've ever read, or close to it. Conan the Barbarian, Volume 1. A lot of great stuff in here. Really stays true to the spirit of Conan, despite having the Comics Code Authority. Because, if you've ever read any of the actual Conan stories, like the novels or short stories or whatever, Conan is very violent and sexual and, just things that wouldn't fly with the Comics Code. But it's very good at staying true to the spirit of Conan. And then I also have Volume 6, just because that was the latest one that came out, and I wanted to keep up to date with it and not get behind, but I need to get 2 through 5, obviously. The Crow Special Edition. I got this one a while ago and just for whatever reason haven't read it yet. I don't really know why. Love the movie. I've never read the any of the comics. I know that they have a very much cult following, the comic books. So yeah, I'm excited to get into it. I've heard the book is even darker than the movie. And then I've been reading this one currently, along with a few others. Daredevil, A Woman Called Widow. It's Epic Collection Volume 4 for Daredevil. The end of this is where Black Widow comes into Daredevil's title, and, eventually it gets retitled Daredevil and Black Widow, which it doesn't happen until almost like the very end, which really sucks, because you gotta get through everything else. And it's not a bad read. From that era, these, it starts out with like the 15 centers, so late Silver Age, very early Bronze Age. It's very typical of what you would find at that time, and unfortunately, Daredevil did not have the best rogues gallery at this time. So you're getting battles with people like Stunt Master and Stilt Man and some random, one-off characters they come up with, which, like I said, they're not terrible, but it's, not my favorite. And then this is the omnibus in that lot, that I was talking about that made me want to go and get it. So, Daredevil by Frank Miller and Klaus Janson. It is very out of print and very sought after, despite having several printings. I guess this is like the direct market cover, because I know the main cover is like black and red. It's Daredevil 181. But yeah, this collects all of the Frank Miller and Klaus Janson Daredevil stuff, which is awesome. There are a couple issues missing, and I guess that Frank Miller didn't do. And also, they have the companion, which collects some issues that kind of like tie into this at that time, which I kind of wish they'd put in this, because this is really not that huge of an omni. But yeah, the companion's also one that's out of print, I believe, so I can't really get that. They are putting them out in epics, but it's kind of like, it's basically double dipping. I'd only really be getting a few extra issues. I could just read what I'm missing out on digitally. So yeah, a little bit of a dilemma there. But this is great. This is probably peak Daredevil, arguably, because the Marvel Knights Bendis stuff was really, really good in my opinion. And also, Mark Waid, Chip Zdarsky, they're also great too, but probably doesn't quite match the level of this. I don't think I've read this in its entirety. Obviously, I haven't read this specific copy. I've read all of Born Again, because that's right here. So I've read all of that. And I know I've read a few other issues, like I've probably read Death of Elektra and her first appearance and things like that. And then we got Daredevil and Echo. Daredevil's actually one of my favorite characters. I just don't have a lot of his collected stuff. The omnibuses, a lot of them are out of print. I'm trying to get some of the epics, though. That's kind of one I want to focus on and get. Daredevil is one that I'm always going to probably collect the single issues of, just because, like I said, he's one of my favorite characters. That has nothing to do with this, though. So, I read the first issue of this when it came out. It's a few years old now. Didn't particularly care for it that much. I do love Echo as well. It's one of my favorite Daredevil, cast members, if you will. But this was super cheap. It was only like a couple bucks. So, I figured I'd grab it, give it another chance read the full thing. Flash by Mark Waid, that was also part of that lot that I was talking about. This is volume 1. I do want to get all of them. I know volume 3 is going to come out, I think, the beginning of 2026. I need to get volume 2 as well. I've read pretty much this entire run digitally before, but just for completionist's sake, I do want to get the William Messner Loebs, and I also want to get the Geoff Johns. But I think volume 2 of Geoff Johns might be hard to get, which I don't need volume 3 because volume 3 is where Barry Allen takes over, and I'm just not a big Barry Allen Flash fan. Wally West has always been my favorite Flash. And then, I don't know why this is in a bag and board. It just came to me in a nice, like, Mylar-like bag and board, so I just kept it in there. But this is Frankenstein Alive Alive, the complete collection by Steve Niles and Bernie Wrightson with additional art by Kelly Jones. So I really don't know what this is about. I just saw it on the IDW solicitation that I got from my comic shop several months back, and I thought it looked really cool. And so I went ahead and pre-ordered it. I haven't read it yet. I wanted to read it for Halloween, but I didn't end up getting it by Halloween. I think it came like a week after. So I missed the boat on that one. And then this is the other DC Finest I got. It's Green Arrow Longbow Hunters. Kind of double dipping here because my friend sent me the Longbow Hunters trade. It's an older one with the Mike Grell art, which is really pretty. I'm still going to keep that one. He sent it to me for free. And, you know, like I said, I'm kind of sentimental. So when friends send me things, I keep them. But this collects more than just Longbow Hunters, obviously. It also collects the first however many issues of the ongoing series. And then some other stuff, like I think The Question, you know, like an issue of The Question or whatever. And I think a story from one of the Detective Comics annuals or Batman annuals. So yeah, I'm excited to dive into this because I don't think well, that's not true. I did read Green Arrow Year 1, and I think I said earlier I read the Green Arrow Black Canary Wedding Special, and I read the beginning of the New 52 Green Arrow. But besides that, I've never read any other Green Arrow, and everyone always says, like, this is the best stuff, so that'll be exciting to dive into. A couple Green Hornets. I really like Green Hornet, kind of an underrated character. This is The Sins of the Father, Volume 1. What attracted me to this was that it was Kevin Smith and Alex Ross art, so can't go wrong with that. I haven't read this one yet, but I've heard good things about it. This one I have read, also, again, Alex Ross art, with Matt Wagner as well. And I really like Matt Wagner because I'm a Grendel fan. But yeah, Year 1, Book 1, liked that one. It was pretty good. Then I've got the Hellboy Omnibus Volume 1. Kind of wish I bought the box set, but I didn't know it existed when I bought this. And also, I think now there's monster-sized Hellboy, which is a huge, thick omnibus that I, again, kind of wish I got that instead. But at the time, I don't think that was out. Still thinking about it. But this is great stuff, you know, collects the first however many Hellboy miniseries, because Hellboy's never had an ongoing. This is pretty much, you know, peak Hellboy in my opinion. Mike Mignola and John Byrne. They still make some Hellboy stuff. They've started up again with the issues. Of course, they all take place in the past because, you know, spoiler, Hellboy is dead in the present timeline, and they've actually kept him dead. So they've just managed to work all his stories into the past, which works out because so much of his past is undiscovered. This was from my shop, one of the $2 trades. This is Heroes for Hire, the complete collection by Abnett and Lanning. Never read this before, don't know much about it. Thought I couldn't go wrong for $2 though. It's got a lot of my favorite characters: Ghost Rider, Iron Fist, Moon Knight, Elektra, and Punisher. So collects all 12 issues plus Villains for Hire, and I think a couple other things, like there was a I don't even remember what that one big spider crossover was. I think it was Spider Island. I think that collects a mini from that or something. So I thought that looked cool. This is a fairly recent pickup as well because they just did a reprinting for this. This is House of Mystery, the Bronze Age Omnibus Volume 1. This is really cool. Haven't had a chance to actually read a lot of it yet. I did flip through it because I think the big appeal for me is the art, because there were so many big artists that worked on House of Mystery. Something else I found interesting was that there are quite a few stories in here that the author is unknown, and I was very confused as to why. And then I saw a video recently, I think it was an interview with Jim Shooter, that they didn't give credit to writers a lot of times back then, so the team putting this together just genuinely does not know who did what. And while you might be able to figure out who did what, it's a lot easier with art than it is with writing. You know, you might be able to get a general sense. You're not going to know for sure. So that really sucks. But what can you do? It's ancient history at this point. This was an Ollie's pickup. Icon and Rocket Season 1. This is the Milestone relaunch. I've heard really good things about Static Season 1. I haven't heard too much about Icon and Rocket Season 1. But I'm sure it's decent. You know, Reginald Hudlin does good stuff. This is my only Absolute. I don't collect Absolutes, but it was at Ollie's for like $25. And when there's a $100 book for $25, it's hard to say no. They also had let me get this out. Justice League New 52 one there before, but I passed up on that. Didn't pass up on this one. So yeah, it collects the entirety of Infinite Crisis. It's a beautiful slipcover. Honestly, if I was going to get this, I would have preferred the Omni because it collects all the tie-ins, but, you know, this is just the essential event. And very pretty. Can't go wrong with Jeff Johns and Phil Jimenez. These are two very recent pickups. Incredible Hulk Volume 3, this just came out, or got a reprint. I don't know if it was previously out before. This is some more Roy Thomas stuff. Archie Goodwin, Steve Englehart, Herb Trimpe. Awesome stuff. Ends, I believe it ends like shortly before, I think it ends with like 180 or something like that. So the next Omni they put out, if they so choose to, will have that first Wolverine and all that jazz. But this is a fun era of Hulk. And then found this at Ollie's very recently. Ollie's is getting in a bunch of omnibuses. The two that I really wanted, my Ollie's didn't have. I want to check another one. But this is the Incredible Hulk by Peter David Volume 4. This was only $35. Retails for $125. But they had a whole bunch in Planet of the Apes, which is a very, I think it's the smallest Marvel omnibus. It's like 10 issues. They had that. Captain Marvel by Kelly Thompson. They had the Young Avengers, the second Omni, which is super small. I didn't even know that. They had Thunderbolts Volume 2, which I was trying to decide between this and Thunderbolts. I may go back for Thunderbolts. I'm trying to think what else, because I think there was some others that they had. I don't know, but the other ones that have been showing up that mine didn't have was the She-Hulk. I can't even remember who the writer is on that one, but it's the 2000s, the early 2000s one. That omnibus, which I really wanted that, and then the Marvel Knights Black Panther Volume 1, which also really wanted that. And I know some Marvel Masterworks have been showing up. They did have a couple. And also the Ta-Nehisi Coates Black Panther has been showing up. Justice League International Omnibus Volume 1. This is my absolute favorite era of Justice League because I love Keith Giffen and I also love Kevin Maguire. And of course, J.M. DeMatteis is also good. But yes, this is a thick boy. There are 3 volumes to this. Definitely want to get them all just in case they go out of print anytime soon because I really, really love this era of Justice League. We got Kick-Ass. This collects the first miniseries, Mark Millar and John Romita Jr. You know, it's okay. Not my favorite thing I've ever read. Honestly, I like the movie better, which is usually rare for me. I typically like the source material better than the movie, but this one, it had me up until the ending where, again, spoiler, it's revealed that Big Daddy is not this big bad guy. He's actually just a comic book nerd with a lot of money because he has like these huge comic grails in a suitcase. And I was like, that is so stupid. I hate that. Because it really makes his character suck even more. Because, I mean, you know, in the movie, he's still a douche for, you know, what he puts his daughter through. But at least he had somewhat justified reasoning. So I'm glad they changed that in the movie. Kingdom Come, this is a classic. I wouldn't say my favorite Elseworld because I really like Gotham by Gaslight, but second or tied for first, Mark Waid, Alex Ross. It's an alternate Earth where it kind of explores a world without, or not a world without superheroes, but a world where superheroes are kind of starting to be like frowned upon, I guess you could say. Moon Knight Volume 1. Got this from my comic shop actually somewhat recently. This is an older printing of this too. Been reading on this one as well. Awesome stuff. What I think is really cool is it collects the Moon Knight stories from Rampaging Hulk magazine, which didn't even know Moon Knight had stories in those, so that's pretty cool. Sadly, Volume 2 is long out of print, so if I want to read the rest of that stuff, I'm going to have to get the Epic Collections, which is fine. New Avengers. Wish I got the Volume 1 Omni, but it went out of print super quick. Because I'm pretty sure it had like another printing this year, and it came out not that long ago also. But anyway, I've got the first 5 volumes. I'm missing Volume 5. I have 1 through 4, missing 5, and then 6, which I'll just read what comprises Volume 5 digitally. Because the Volume 2 Omnibus just came out, and I do want to get that, as New Avengers is probably my favorite Avengers run. This is a fun throwback for me. This is Showcase Presents The Phantom Stranger. Just collects some various stories, I think. It's all in black and white. If you're not familiar with these old DC showcases, they were pretty cheap. I think they were under 20 bucks when they came out. But this is kind of stuff that my library used to have when I was a kid. So when I found this at my comic shop when they were doing like a fill-a-box sale, and they also had some trades there, had to get this, and it was only like $5 or something. So just some fun nostalgia for me. We got Rye. I have a bunch of these old Valiant trades. Several of them are put away. I actually really like Valiant, which may surprise you to hear, because, you know, Valiant gets a lot of hate, but I love Valiant. If you don't watch my videos, I'm actually trying to collect every issue of the original Valiant universe, and I'm pretty close. I think I'm probably about 75% of the way. I've got almost complete runs for most of the titles now. I think the ones that I have the most gaps of are Eternal Warrior and Bloodshot. But pretty much everything else I've got almost every issue of. Frank Miller's Ronin. This one's a little wavy. I got it used. I'm trying to flatten it out, but it just will not flatten. I've never read this one before, but I do like Frank Miller. You know, did Dark Knight Returns and Daredevil, which are 2 of my all-time favorite comic arc/stories. They're the ones that I go back and read over and over, like Born Again and Dark Knight Returns. Sandman Mystery Theater Compendium 2. I need Compendium 1. I probably didn't even really need to get this when it came out. I could have probably played the waiting game for this one, you know, get it a little bit cheaper. Or get some kind of bundle deal for it with like a buy 2, get 1 or something like that, but I went ahead and got it because I'm a big Justice Society fan. Even though that's more like in the Sandman universe. Savage Sword of Conan Volume 6. This is one that I pre-ordered. I probably, again, shouldn't have. Because while I do like Savage Sword of Conan, I kind of am thinking that's not something that I'm wanting to really get into. And I also pre-ordered another volume. I can't even remember which volume it was. So yeah, that's kind of thinking that's something I'm probably not going to want to get into. Maybe I'll change my mind, you know, at some point, but right now kind of feeling like that was kind of a mistake, just because I go heavy with Conan stuff. Because, you know, I like the regular series, and King Conan has the Omnis coming out, and there's also Conan the Adventurer coming out, I think, like next year, so. But Savage Sword, I was kind of like, you know, it's probably not something I want to collect right now, and especially because they're a little bit pricier. Marvel Superheroes Secret Wars. This is that cool Alex Ross cover. I think pretty much everyone has said that, obviously, this is not a literary masterpiece, but it's fun, you know, it's got some fun stuff in it. Obviously, we see the black suit first show up, even though it showed up earlier in real time with Amazing Spider-Man 252 and Marvel Team Up 141, but It's a fun one. Got some cool stuff in it. Something is Killing the Children compendium, or omnibus, excuse me, one. Typically, it's not an omnibus when it's a paperback. I don't really know what the difference is. Typically, it's called a compendium when it's paperback, and omnibus when it's a hardcover, but whatever. This collects the first 20 issues of Something is Killing the Children, which has very quickly become my favorite indie series. I jumped on the boat way late, picked it up single issues, which I think it's on like issue 43 or 44 now. And wish I'd really got that #1 when it came out, because I remember when it came out and I heard all the hype about it, but I was like, I'm not big into horror. This is a great one though, I highly recommend it. They are adapting it, which it's confirmed to actually be adapted, unlike a lot of the other indie ones. Blumhouse Productions has even confirmed it, that they're making a movie and then an animated series, which I don't know that I care about a movie, but I am down for an animated series. Spectacular Spider-Man Volume 1, this is just another one that was in that lot. This is a pretty good era though, as I was reading some of this, because Moon Knight, this is the direct market cover, it's why I kept the direct market. Again, I got the direct market and the retail, sold the retail to my buddy for $25, and I kept the direct market because Moon Knight was on it. But yeah, this was when I was reading because Moon Knight crosses over. It's in the Moon Knight omnibus, and this is a pretty good era of Spectacular Spider-Man. So, I probably will hang on to that and read it at some point. Star Wars Tales Book 1. This is some fun stuff here, you know. I don't have any of the Marvel omnibuses of the Legends. I want to get them, but it gets kind of overwhelming because there's so many out now. Thankfully, there's a Volume 1 for Legacy coming, so I feel very confident about starting that, since I don't have to hop on in the middle and then go try and find other ones, or, you know, go get the first one and then worry about getting the others for, like, Empire and other ones like that where it's out of print. So, yeah. But this is just, I think, like the first few issues of Star Wars Tales. It's an older trade. Love the Dark Horse Star Wars stuff. That's what I grew up reading. That was one of the first comics I had because they used to do toys, I think around like 2006, that came with the comics, and those are a lot of fun. And then Target was doing a buy two, get one sale recently. I don't think it's still going on. It actually lasted for quite a while. I think it first started like a month or two ago. I think it was a month ago. And I put the things in the cart that I wanted, got on there at like 5 a.m. because I couldn't sleep, and I looked and everything in my cart was gone. I was like, are you kidding me? I looked on Reddit, on the Omnibus Collectors subreddit, and people were like, who else got up at 3 a.m. for the frickin' Target sale? I was like, what the heck? But thankfully they restocked, and the sale went on for like a month, which I had no idea about until, again, someone on Omnibus Collectors said so. So I'm angry at them, but also thankful for them. So I picked up Triangle Era Omnibus Volume 1 and the other two that you're going to see here super shortly. I've read pretty much all the Triangle Era digitally years and years ago. At least I think most of it. But I was really wanting to reread this and have it physically. So this is going to be a fun one to reread. And then moving down here. Easier if I get on my knees, unfortunately. I also picked up Volume 2 with that, which Volume 2 is the most recent one. That just came out in October. So we're probably going to have to wait a little bit for a Volume 3, but this ends with the death of Superman and Funeral for a Friend, so Volume 3 is going to kick off with Reign of the Supermen, and then Return of Superman, which I'm excited for. Past Return of Superman, I haven't read anything, which I think the Triangle Era still continues there, so that's what I'm most excited for, because I haven't read any of that stuff after Return of Superman. And then Superman Unchained, this was just an Ollie's find that I picked up because I'd heard good things about it. It was fine, you know, it's not my favorite Superman thing, but it certainly wasn't bad. Tales of the TMNT, this one's somewhat obsolete for me because I picked up the TMNT Compendium, and that has the first, well, there was only 5 issues of the original Tales of the TMNT, which is in this, but this also has the second volume, which I do not have, so a little bit of double dipping, but it does have some extra things. And then this was also what I got with the buy two, get one for Target. Walt Simonson's Thor, which I'm super stoked to get. I actually kind of thought this one might be out of print, but very excited for this one because I love Beta Ray Bill and I like to collect his appearances and things like that, so I'm excited to read some more Beta Ray Bill stuff. Which, with that, also got this at my shop for $2. Thor Corpse. This collects Thor Corpse, I think 1 through 4 it is, and then a few issues, I think probably from Walt Simonson's Thor, so a little bit of double dipping there as well. But, you know, majority thing there is the actual Thor Corpse miniseries, which I don't believe is in that. And this is Compendium 2 for Transformers, the Marvel years. I need to get Compendium 1. This is a super, super thick boy, and it was only $60 a retail. It is newspaper print, which I think is the same thing they do for the G.I. Joe, which is fine with me, because that's what, like, you know, the original comics were printed on. So, that's sick, and it's a DWJ cover. Can't go wrong. This is a really fun crossover. I got this at a comic shop when it was closing. Transformers Back to the Future. This is an IDW was doing all those really cool crossovers. Some of these are really hard to find, and not only single issue, but in trade now. Like, I've really been wanting to get the Ghostbusters TMNT, but I think it's hard to find in both single issue because people like it, and then in trade because it's out of print and not going to get a reprint since Ghostbusters is now at Dark Horse. And, you know, things like this are not going to get a reprint either because Transformers is at Image now. And, I mean, it's very possible they could collaborate. We're seeing more collaboration than ever, probably, with comic book companies. But as of now, not going to get a reprint. V for Vendetta. Didn't really care for this that much, honestly. I did see that they announced there's a series for this. I might check it out, but I don't know how much mileage you can get out of a series for this. You know, this was only, I don't even remember, was it 6 issues, I think? So I'm not sure what you can really do with a whole series. Again, I actually liked the movie better than I liked the trade. Or the series, I should say. Dynamite's been reprinting these, the Vampirella Archives Volume 1. This collects the first 5 issues, I think. Or no, 7 issues. Yeah, 7 issues of the Vampirella magazine. And then this is an older printing. I don't know how I even got this. I ordered a Volume 2 through my shop. My order got kind of messed up and I had to manually tell them what I ordered because it was through Comic Hub. And I guess somehow this old volume was available, so this is the one I got. I mean, I don't care. 8 through 14. It's a lot thicker than that one. I don't know if that's supposed to be or if that's just because it's an old one, if that new one is also going to be or is as thick as this one. So hopefully it doesn't look all wonky. But yeah, I got 2, and then I think I have 3 on pre-order. That doesn't come out till like the beginning of next year. All right, last shelf here. We got some Venom Epic collections. I think these are all the ones that pretty much are available still. This is Volume 5. Volume 4, which I think is Enter the Madness or something like that, was available fairly recently, but I think it has kind of sold out from what I have seen. But this is Carnage Unleashed. This is one that I actually got in that lot as well. Planet of the Symbiotes, which that's fairly new. I think that came out a couple months ago, which is Volume 6. And they don't release these in order. Or no, Planet of the Symbiotes is the newest one. Sorry, Planet of the Symbiotes just came out. The Hunger came out a few months ago. This came out before Planet of the Symbiotes. I don't know why they released them like that. But that's The Hunger, that's Volume 7. Yeah, I kind of understand why they do that, but I also don't. Like, for example, I just got the newest, it's on its way, the newest Spider-Girl Epic collection that just came out, which there's only like 2 or 3 of those, and they are just completely all over the place. They've got Volume 1, and then I think this one's like Volume freaking 6 or 7 or something. I don't even know. This is another one I got in that lot. I think this is the last one from that lot. The Venom by Donny Cates Omnibus, which that's an awesome one. Very thick. Loved this. This got me back into Venom. Venom was a childhood favorite of mine. And then, you know, I kind of got away from comics and superheroes. And then when I got back into them, This series was coming out and I heard such good things, and I started reading it when it was coming out, and I was like, this is amazing. And that's how I got back into Venom. And I'm a big Donny Cates fan. I hope he comes back to writing soon. If you're not aware, he did have, I believe, an accident and suffered some injuries from it a while back, so that's also why he jumped off of Thor so abruptly, which sucked because his Thor was also really cool. Watchmen, I hate to keep crapping on Alan Moore because I really like Swamp Thing, but another one that I'm not the biggest fan of. I mean, it was fine, but at parts it just felt like it was a bit of a slog to get through. I've never seen the movie. I have heard pretty much everybody say that this is better than the movie. The movie has a different ending, I think I heard. But yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of it, you know, and I've heard people say to other people before, like, you know, why do you keep books if you're not a fan of them? And that's a valid question, but I feel like someday I am going to want to reread these. So for now, keeping them. Also, I kind of don't want to get rid of them because I had them for so long. Like this one I got, I think, literally the day before the COVID shutdown. I went to my comic shop and they were doing a graphic novel sale because of the shutdown. I picked up Watchmen. Wolverine, this is an older trade as well. I think I got it at like a secondhand bookstore. This is the 4-issue miniseries from Chris Claremont, Frank Miller. Then it also collects the issue of Mariko and Wolverine's wedding from Uncanny X-Men. Also not a huge fan of this. Mighty Marvel Masterworks, the X-Men. This is like the first 9 issues, I think, of X-Men. Yeah, so some classic stuff in there, lots of good first appearances. I'm not a big Silver Age reader, but it was a cool one, and at the time, the comic shop that I got this from, I was trying to support them. That shop is no longer around because the owner passed away, which brings me to this one. X-Men Mutations. This is an old 90s trade, I believe. This collects, it's like an anthology style kind of thing. It's Angel turning into Archangel, Psylocke becoming Ninja Psylocke, and then Beast becoming the Furry Beast, and then the Blue Furry Beast. But this came from that comic shop owner's personal collection that he actually gave to me for like $1 or something, pretty much. So he pretty much just gave it to me. And yeah, I don't even know if I said it, but I was kind of friends with him, and so these are sentimental to me because I got them from him, and that one also is, and we'll get to it. This is probably one of the hottest omnibuses of 2025. X-Men Blue and Gold Mutant Genesis. And wow, is it thick. So this is from when the X-Men got their second title, simply just titled X-Men. And also collects the Uncanny stuff from there, and X-Force, and all that jazz, and a whole bunch of stuff in there. And you can see just a big old list of creators, so it's a very fun one. Blood Ties, like I said, I also got that from the comic shop owner's personal collection. This collects all of Blood Ties, Avengers, X-Men, which I actually like this little storyline here. I don't hear a lot of people talk about this one, but I quite enjoyed it. And then finally we got X-23 Killing Dream hardcover here, whatever a Marvel Premiere Edition is. I like X-23 and it was cheap, so grabbed it. The first few issues of that mini series there, or not mini, I don't think it was a mini, I think it was an ongoing, I don't know, it was a long time ago. And that is pretty much gonna do it here. Oh yeah, there's a few figures here. Those are the ones that I'm actually gonna put up here. It's the Punisher and Daredevil are pretty new, and then Luke Cage I found at Ollie's, so I got those, and then those are the hands for that Rogue. So that is gonna do it. I hope you enjoyed this longer video. Hope it was kind of relaxing or ASMR-ish for you. And I just overall hope it was fun for you guys to see my collection. I love watching other people's videos of collections because I just like to see what everybody else has and admire. So if you like this video, hit that like button, leave a comment down below. Please subscribe, I very much appreciate that, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.